Hey, today I'm going to show you how to use an Arduino and potentiometer to get variable control for your projects. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so to start, take your potentiometer and plug it into one of the rows on the breadboard. So it should look something like this. Next, take one of your wires, plug it into the row on the breadboard, which is hooked up to the middle pin on the potentiometer. So, like this. Next, take that wire and plug that into the analog in pins, which are right here. You could use A0 through A5. I'm going to use A0. Next, take your next wire and plug it into the row on the breadboard that is connected to the pin on the left of the potentiometer. So, like this. And then plug that into the 5 volts on your Arduino board. And then lastly, take your last wire, plug that into the row on the right of the potentiometer's pins, and plug that into the ground port on your Arduino. And that's it. Okay, so to get started, we need to tell the Arduino what pin the potentiometer is on. So we're going to start by typing int pot pin, like this, and then we're going to tell it that it equals pin 0, which is the A0 pin, or whatever pin you plugged it into on the analog ins. Next, we're going to make a variable for its value. So start by typing int, and then we're going to type val semicolon, and that's it. Now we go directly down to void loop, and then we wanted to tell it to start updating the val variable so that it is reading the potentiometer. So we're going to type val equals, and then we're going to type analog read open parentheses pot pin, like that. And so that is basically telling it to update the variable val with the data coming from the potentiometer. Alright, so now we have a basic potentiometer reading, but it's not a very good accurate reading because they can be all sorts of weird numbers. So now we're going to tell it to smooth down that output variable that it gives us, and you can tell it to how smooth you want it. Well, I'll show you first. So start by typing val equals, and then we want to say map open parentheses val comma space 0 comma space 1023 comma space, and then this is where you get to tell it how smooth you want it to be. So when you turn it all the way to the left, what number do you want it to give you? I want it to give me a 0, and then comma space, and then when I turn it all the way to the right, how big of a number do I want it to give me? So in this example, I'll just type 50. So I want it to give me a 50 output when I turn it all the way to the right. Okay, now you can close parentheses and semicolon. Now you can change that number 50 that I have in there to be whatever you want. It could be 10, it could be 100, whatever. It basically is adjusting it so that when you turn the variable, it's adjusting that. So now you have completed this. To get the data from the potentiometer, you just use the variable val now, and that will give you the data. Now, I actually want to see what I'm getting right now, so I'm going to start by initializing serial. So type serial.begin, open parentheses, and then we want to set it to 9600, like that. Next, we just tell it that we want to use serial. So we're going to tell it to serial.print, and then I want it to print on a new line every time. So I'm going to type ln, open parentheses, and this is where I tell it what I want it to type. In this case, I wanted to tell it to type the variable from my potentiometer. So I'm just going to type val, close parentheses, semicolon, and that's it. Now we just have to upload. Okay, so now I'm going to hit upload. Well, first I'm going to hit tools so that I can select the port. I'm going to go down to USB modem, which is what my computer thinks the Arduino is. And then I'm going to tell it to upload. So now it's uploading. And now it's done. So now it is working, but we can't see what it sees. So if you go up here to serial monitor, in the top right, it will show you what the potentiometer is giving you output. So if I spin the potentiometer, it gives me an output. So I am spinning this potentiometer and it is changing the values on the screen. Now, if the values are flipped from how you want it to be, like you want it to be 50 when it's all the way to one direction, and right now it's 50 when it's all the way at the other direction, you can go back into your code down here and select this to be 50 or whatever number you had and make this equal the 0. Now if you go back and re-upload it, and it's done now, click serial monitor, and now it is flipped the values, so now I can adjust the values with my potentiometer all the way up to 50 and things like that. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to use Arduinos with potentiometers.